Have you ever had a moment in your life where you wish you could just disappear? I've had many of those moments in my life, but the one that came to mind earlier this week happened during my first game ever refereeing a junior high basketball game. You see, I'd been looking forward to reffing, but I was really nervous. Before the game, I met the guy who I'd be working with. His name was Jeff Bowland, and he had reffed many games before. I told him that this was my first game and that if there was any pointers that he could give me, that would be great. As the game began, I worked on making sure all my mechanics were right, knowing when to blow my whistle, what to do with my hands, and making sure I was on the right spot on the court when I needed to be. It was about 3 minutes into the first quarter when the first foul happened. It was right in front of me. I blew my whistle and immediately went to report the foul to the scoring table. When I got there, the one thing I didn't want to happen happened. I completely forgot the number of the person who committed the foul. Sheepishly, I made my way back to the free throw line, ready to ask Jeff if he knew who I blew my whistle on. I think he knew what was going on because as I began walking towards him, he met me and quietly told me that the foul was on number 42, as to not embarrass me in front of the players. Then he told me to take my time and that it was going to be all right. After that moment, this game seemed to go much smoother, and afterwards he told me that I did a great job and to just trust my instincts and take my time. As I think back on that moment, I'm reminded that oftentimes in my life, whenever I've had those moments where I wish I could just disappear, God has always had someone there to encourage me. Jeff's actions that night reminded me of something that Paul wrote in Romans chapter 15. He says, "We who are strong ought to bear with the failings of the weak, and not to please ourselves. Each of us should please our neighbors for their good, to build them up." You see, it's easy for us to be critical of others. We see it all over this world. The problem happens when we start acting like the world, because Scripture also tells us that we should not look like the world does. So my encouragement for you this week is to find ways to be patient and encouraging to others, because you never know whose life you can impact just by telling them to slow down and that everything's going to be all right.